let's have a look what happens when we try to create a new album with the title and description set to null. So I'm in the API/bands, then the band ID, I picked Metallica ID, and then /albums, and I'm in the post. So let's send this, and over here you can see we got 500 internal server error. And here it says cannot insert the value null into column title, and it also says that the insert failed. However, this is not really an internal server error, because it is us, the users, who made a mistake here. The server simply tried to process a request that the database did not allow to process. So when we are creating a resource, we are basically inputting new data into the database. So our DTO for creation needs to have some kind of validation in order to avoid these types of errors. We basically need to restrict the user so the user can only enter valid data into the database. And if the data is not valid, we will throw an error message rather than having a 500 internal server error. So let's have a look at the album class first. And you can see that our album has the key and then required and maximum length for the title, and also maximum length but not required for the description. Now a DTO object for the album, let me just open that, doesn't have any attributes at all. We don't need any validation here because this is for an output. The data should be already validated by the time we actually use album DTO. However, for the album for creating DTO, this is used to create a new album, and therefore we should validate what data goes into the database before we try to even insert them. So here we are basically going to mimic what we have in our album class. So the title will be required and maximum length 200. So I'll paste it right there. And the description will have the maximum length of 400. So let's bring in the data annotation. And let's try this again. So once again, let's try to insert an album with title null and description null. And this time we get bad request, and it says the title field is required. Remember, the description is not required. It is only limited for the length of the description. So this is a valid response. It's not an internal server error, it is a bad request from the user. So now let's enter a title for the album. And let's enter a description, but let's say the description will be too long. Alright, so the description is over 400 characters, which is our limit. So now let's run this. And we get bad request. And this time it says the field description must be a string or array type with a maximum length of 400. So again, we get a bad request and not an internal server error. And if we fix it, let's just say we have a regular description limit and send this, and we get created, and here is the album that we just created. So this way we are able to validate the input and display a correct messaging when the input is not actually valid due to a user error. And next, let's have a look at the class level input validation, and we will use IValidatable Object.